All right, welcome. My name is Hannah Perkey. I'm CEO of Evelo team with Keller Williams Realty. I'm joined today by Bob Woerner, one of our most senior realtor partners, who's been with us for a decade, so coming with lots of knowledge. And so we're going to talk today about what's been happening in the real estate market, focused on the data that we've gathered, which is the data from November. So go ahead, Bob, if you can tell us what's happening locally in the market here in Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just kick right into it. We've obviously been doing this for quite a while now, review some of the same stats each month just to give everyone a kind of an overview on what's happening locally. That's often very different from what we might hear on the national news or national insights because real estate tends to be pretty hyper local. So first up is just that median sales price. So the month of November ended at 285. That was down just a tiny bit from October, but still up 4.4% year over year. So I think we kind of expected growth locally to be in that 4 to 6% range after we had a couple years in a row of double digit growth. So it looks like we're probably going to end right in line with expectations. And then next up is that kind of median and average days on market. So that median number was 22 that you see there. That is starting to tick up. That was up 46, almost 47% over last month, and we're up about 30% year over year. And then that average days on market, a little different from the median, is 41. And then the month supply of inventory. So again, a balanced market being about a 4 to 6 month supply of inventory. For a lot of the 3 years preceding 2023, we were operating at between 0.5% and 0.8%. We've climbed back up above 1 at 2.2% this month, which is down a little bit from last month, really in line, and then just up a little bit over last year. So still well below a balanced market in terms of inventory available, but obviously better than we've been the last couple of years. And then just in kind of part one here, the last one we've taken a look at is that average list to sales price ratio. So on average, homes are still selling pretty close to list price. Again, some are selling for more, some are selling for less. It's very location dependent and price point dependent, but we ended the month at 97.5%, which is just about where we were last month and almost in line with where we were last year at this time.
Yeah, and Bob, I know this is a stat you may not remember, but the average days on market, looking at that 22, what do you think was the lowest number we saw since we've been doing this monthly update?
It was less. I'm pretty certain it was less than a week. I don't recall
Hmm.
that number for certain. I don't know if it
Yeah.
officially ever went less than like 6 or 7 days, just because a lot of
Hmm.
times they were artificially on the market for that long as they kind of
Yes.
set offer deadlines. But yeah, that's probably one of the areas we've seen the most significant change.
Yeah, and I think that feels really different for sellers and even for agents who have not been in the business as long. I was having that conversation earlier today, and they're like, what else should we be doing? And I'm like, well, we have to look at the market stats and, how many showings have they received? So I think that's important to know that because it feels so different than what we would have experienced maybe 2 years ago,
Right.
just looking back.
Yeah.
So speaking of shifting market, what metrics have you been tracking? In addition to that, what are the things you're looking at to track that shifting market?
Yeah, just as things have started to change a little bit, we started kind of, looking at some, a few different things as well. So one of those is that active inventory. So you see here, this kind of goes back to 2016. So we have almost a 7 year look back, and we were over 10,000 units at that point. We have obviously gone down to below a couple thousand units in the last couple years, but now we've been flirting back with this 5,000 line again, kind of up and down from there. So that's where we're back. That still is down month over month and year over year, but we are back over 5,000. Next up is the closed sales. This is the craziest one in terms of looking like a roller coaster, right? A lot of sales happen between March and August of each year, and then there's different peaks and valleys here and there throughout the rest of the year. But just under 2,400 units for the month of November. That was down slightly month over month and down a little bit more year over year. Number of new listings, right? Those two can kind of correspond, but that gives us an idea of just what's coming on the market. So 2458 for November, that was down almost 21% month over month. So that was a pretty big change. You see that big drop there. But it is a little bit more in line with where things were last year. Obviously, November, December, January, those are sometimes a little light in terms of the number of new listings. And then the last one, I think we kind of took a look at this for the first time last month, and that was, we look at that list to sales price ratio, but this one gives us the percentage of homes that are still selling above list price. So that number was 15.6%. So that means all the homes that sold in November, 15% sold above list price, 85% sold at list price or below. Keeping in mind, again, that's very location dependent and very price point dependent. We could drill down a lot, but we're just obviously here to kind of talk about the market overall. That is down a little bit from last month, but that is actually, and that's down a little bit year over year as well.
Yeah, that inventory number is so interesting. I started in 2016. I know you were prior to that, but just seeing the difference of where we came from to where we were to even today. So you and I were chatting earlier today that there's a lot of good properties starting to be available that you can get at a more normalized price, right? Without having to go in crazy over the top. So
Correct.
looking like a much healthier market across the board for potentially first-time home buyers. So
Yeah,
I
and
love that.
especially on the buy side, and I know we did talk about this a little bit earlier today in a separate meeting, but December, January, February could be good opportunities for buyers, right?
Right.
It's a little hard to have that crystal ball and know exactly what's going to happen in the spring, but as interest rates decrease, inventory is still low, the expectation could be that we'd see that demand uptick again starting in March, April, like we did this year, where we did go into a lot of multiple offers over list price again, where during the winter months here, as we're all hunkered down a little bit, sometimes that can lead to some opportunities if you can jump in now versus waiting until things might heat up in the spring a bit.
Yes, most definitely. Love it. Okay, well, I think we hear the most like out in the public forum about interest rates, right? That's on the news a lot. So tell me what people should know about interest rates currently.
Yeah, and sorry I kind of hit on that a tiny bit there just with a preview, but
Yeah.
we have been dropping quite a bit in the last month. And again, these are just averages. There's lots of factors that go into what your individualized interest rate might be, but this is just kind of from a weekly survey that's conducted. And so the average for the week ending last week was 6.95%. When we did this last month, we were 0.55% higher. So we've dropped greater than a half point. I know I read something this week that that's the lowest it's been since last June. And so we're certainly not headed back to 2.5% and 3%, right? But the expectation is right now that we'll continue to see rates drop. You might see some ups and downs, right? Like we have over the last 12 to 18 months. But in general, they should be on a downward trend. They should remain in the sixes, but obviously there's a lot of factors that influence interest rates. We'll see how everything shakes out, but it does appear that we are now headed on a downward trend and should reasonably stay there for the foreseeable future.
Yep. Okay. Great. And then any final thoughts before we wrap up today? Anything else we should know about the market?
Yeah, I always try to find something, and I think the end of the year often brings sometimes life changes, people get engaged, maybe have a baby on the way. There's the whole setting goals or visions for what you might like out of 2024. So if owning a home hasn't been something you've had the opportunity to do yet, and that's on your list of goals, I just kind of included a little thing here that's kind of the milestones you might encounter along the way, right? So obviously building your team, would love to be a part of that. Connect it from a real estate realtor perspective. We can connect you with lender partners to really get things kick-started and get you prepped and ready to go for 2024. Obviously, lender's going to work on your credit score. You can start boosting your savings if you haven't already done that, right? Sometimes people use that tax return to kind of kickstart that a little bit. You probably need a lot lower of a down payment than maybe what a lot of people think. So that's something we could talk through. Really knowing what your numbers are, what you can afford, what your down payment's going to look like. Again, we can help with that. Then we start getting out there and taking a look at places, making those offers, right? Then those kind of final steps before closing are that inspection and appraisal. And then that closing happens and you got a new home. So, we'd just love to be here to help. And even if we just get the opportunity to meet in person, interview for your business, would love to do that no matter what. But even if it's just kind of something in the back of your mind that you've been thinking of, would love to just have that conversation.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for prepping all that data. I know that takes some time, and we hope that helps to kind of decipher what you're hearing in the news and help you understand what's happening in our realm of the world as it relates to real estate. So if you have any other questions, you can comment below or message us. We do send this out along with other informational data on real estate. So if you'd like to join our email list, you can message us with your email address as well. And I think that's it. We hope you have a great rest of the year. We're going to be checking out with our families for the holidays. So we wish you Merry Christmas, and we will be here for any real estate needs in between. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye bye.